PFT Live Draft presented by Sky Rizzi. Let's get right to it because we're running out of time today. The most intriguing characters in this current hiring cycle as we embark on our draft format. Devin, give me your first choice.
We got to go with the guy that we talked about for a good amount of the show starting off. It's got to be Mike Vrabel, one of the most intriguing guys that I think that's available, high demand. Seems like he's going on another interview with the Bears today, so I'm sure everybody will have him in. But like we said before, still have him linked to the Patriots.
Two no-brainers to get offers. Beyond that, nobody knows what's going to happen. Vrabel 1, Ben Johnson 2. That's my pick. And Ben Johnson is looking for, above all else, because the money will be there. And I thought it was poor form last year that there was an article that smeared him, that teams were scared off because he wanted too much money. Well, maybe the teams are being cheap asses. Like, you got to tell me how much he wanted before you tell me that they were scared off because he wanted too much money, because maybe they were being the ones who were unreasonable in this. So he wants alignment with the front office. Scratch off Jacksonville, probably scratch off the Bears. There will be teams he won't even interview with. Like the Jets requested Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, and so far no Ben Johnson. Maybe because the Jets, and good for the Jets, they got some self-awareness. They know Ben Johnson doesn't want to go to that mess, so they're just not going to ask him. But he's going to be fascinating because at the end of the day, there's a chance that he stays put, that he prefers being the mad scientist who cooks up the offensive plays versus being the head coach who's got to be the center of attention, having people show up at his house, all the stuff that goes with being a head coach. He might not want that yet. He might not want that ever.
And I might give him leverage to make some more money being that mad scientist offensive coordinator. My second guy is going to be Brian Flores. Interrupted us mid-show Sunday night, being in Detroit, jumped on as we were doing highlights. I just think what he's been able to do with this Minnesota Vikings defense. I mean, even Sunday night, and I know the score doesn't really indicate it, they stayed in that game defensively, even not taking advantage of scoring opportunities, Darnold missing some throws in the end zone. They stayed in that game, which a lot of people thought would be a high-scoring game with them not really being able to slow down Detroit. They had a pretty good plan for the most part of that game. And now a lot of that has to do with Brian Flores and what he has created and the different defenses he comes up in Minnesota.
And look, hopefully there's an owner out there that will do the right thing, accept and understand the fact that Brian Flores did what he had to do, that he filed that lawsuit that was long overdue. He did the right thing. Don't hold it against him. Hold John Gruden's lawsuit against him because it flowed from the emails that he sent. I mean,
that's true.
Brian Flores did nothing wrong. He's doing everything right. But Club Oligarch, the black T-shirt under the dress shirt crowd, they may not see it that way. The next one for me, and I'm trying to think of the best way to word it. This is current coach of another team. And the names may change. Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, John Harbaugh. Who knows what happens if somehow the Ravens fall flat on their faces on Saturday night against the Steelers? Will it be time to move on there? Mike McDaniel in Miami. The teams that might call a guy who's currently coaching another team, that is an avenue of potential candidates that never gets pursued. And when Jay Glazer said on Fox's pregame show Sunday that multiple teams are interested in trading for Kevin O'Connell, and obviously the Vikings aren't interested in it, but he's got 1 year left on his contract. You never know. Is there a spot where things are just a little off and maybe the team says, we're going to be moving on in a year or so anyway, or maybe we'd like to move on right now, but we don't want to pay the buyout. If we can get draft picks, let's do it. I just feel like somebody needs to be making those calls and trying that path, Devin, because nobody ever does it. All right, we're going to take a break. One more round each when PFT Live concludes right after this. All right, those are the selections so far for the most intriguing characters in the current hiring cycle. I kind of cheated with my last one because it's not one person, it's a category of people. Devin, you can go with category. You can go with whatever you want for your final pick. You're up.
I do love what you did there because I think that is a huge thing in a year where it doesn't feel like there's obvious candidates. So my last guy, it'll be Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What he was able to do, you know, you lose Dave Canales, he goes to Carolina. You got to step in and fill those shoes. And All they did was lose Mike Evans for a few weeks, lose why am I drawing a blank on lose Chris Godwin, and still productive with Bucky Irvin and doing different things. So I really like what he was able to do in Tampa this year.
Well, and if they had blown that game on Sunday and if Atlanta had won, there was talk that maybe Todd Bowles retires, just like Bruce Arians retired. And just like Lovie Smith was nudged aside for Dirk Cutter, it would have been Bowles out and Cohen elevated. The last name I'm going to say, and there's been no mention of him yet, but I'm still intrigued by how Bill Belichick hovers over this process because he's got a buyout of $10 million, which is pocket change. It's like 5 weeks of the maintenance budget for Shad Khan's yacht if you want to pay $10 million to get Bill Belichick out of his North Carolina contract. And he was eyeing that Tampa Bay job when his consigliere, Mike Lombardi's out there suggesting Todd Bowles might retire. And people are like, who's saying Todd Bowles might retire? Yeah, clearing a path for Bill because that was one of the spots Bill was looking at. And who knows what happens in Tampa. They get embarrassed on Sunday Night Football against the Commanders and they wash out. Who knows? We've seen coaches get shoved out after playoff games in the past. It's not impossible. I'm not saying Bowles deserves it. I'm just being realistic. I mean, he's 3 for 3 winning division titles as head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That should count for something. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.